All right, this section is composite surface area, and we're going to be putting two shapes together in order to find the surface area of them. The first one I've got here is a cylinder and then half a sphere, so I started to write this out in words, so cylinder and half a sphere. I like to do that because then it helps you figure out what formulas you're going to be using. And then I did the formula for cylinder, which is 2 pi r squared, 2 pi r h, and then we've got half of the sphere formula. So the problem with surface area that makes it a little bit confusing is when you think about the surface area of this shape, we really only want the outside. So we only want the outside of this sphere and then a round part of the cylinder and the bottom of the cylinder. Where these two touch, where the half of a sphere touches the top of that cylinder, we don't actually want to count that into our surface area. So this is where it gets just a little confusing. So this cylinder has both a bottom and a top. That top part I don't want as a part of my formula because surface area is just the outside, not the inside areas. So in the end of this formula, after I put these two together, I'm going to need to take off one circle right there, which is a pi r squared. The reason I don't need two of them is because the sphere formula is already only the outsides. Sphere does not take into account the inside. So I only really need to get rid of that one circle that's on top of the cylinder. So now let's start to plug all our numbers in. I've got a 2 pi, my r is 6, 2 pi, 6 again, the height of my cylinder is a 4, plus 1/2, 4 pi, radius is still 6 even though we've moved on to the sphere, and then we're going to minus pi 6 squared. Now that's a lot to get into your calculator correctly, so we can enter it all at one time, but just make sure you're being careful with your parentheses too. So here I go. 2 times pi times 6 squared, and 2 times pi times 6 times 4. And I would suggest with your 1/2 that you do a 0.5 instead. Everybody's calculator is a little bit different, and sometimes that 1/2, if you don't have the parentheses around it or it's not typed in right, it'll mess you up. So go to 0.5 and it should help you get the right answer. And then I got 4 pi and another 6 squared, and then we have to take off that one circle we talked about where they overlap. So my surface area for this one is about, oh, I didn't even put an equal sign. 490, we'll make that work. 0.09, and we are surface area, so we are squared. That's our first one. Next up, I've got this cube on the bottom, and then going with a rectangular pyramid. So I'm going to do a cube or a rectangular prism. So cube, and then we're going to plus a square pyramid. So my cube formula is 2 times, and then I need all the sides. So what's not marked on here that hopefully is in your notes packet is all of these sides are congruent. So all of these are 8s down here. So I have 6 sides on this cube, and they are all the exact same. They are all 8 by 8s. So I can just do 6 of those. And then I've got this square pyramid. So my formula for a pyramid is area of the bottom. So just looking at my square on the bottom, this would be an 8 by an 8. And then we have half. The rest of our formula is NSL. So we're going to go number of sides, 4, side length, still 8, and then we're supposed to have slant height. Well, we have straight height, real height, and we need to find slant height. So this is our side of 8, so this triangle right here is going to have a 4. I'm just going to draw that triangle right here so we can see it a little better, 5 and a 4. And we're looking for this right there, which is your slant height. So we'll do Pythagorean's theorem. Oh, that's an L, although that kind of looked like an E. So it looks like our slant height is the square root of 41, which is about 6.4. And that's what we're going to use down here. And then we have to talk about the parts where they overlap again. And this cube and this pyramid, they overlap on, oh my gosh, they overlap where this square is. And now the bottom of the pyramid has a square and the top of the cube has a square. So there's actually 2 of those. We need one from the pyramid taken off, and we need one from the box taken off. Where those 2 shapes touch each other, we don't want that surface area. What's nice is they are the same measure, so this square is the same for both of them. So I just need 2 of them, and they will be an 8 by an 8. So we get 6 times 8 times 8. I got another 8 times 8. Remember, with the 1/2, you want to do a 0.5 just so it doesn't get messed up. 4 and 8 and 6.4. And then we're going to take off 2 of those 8 by 8s. And we get about 422.4, and we are centimeters squared this time. 2 more to go. Next up, I've got a cone and a cylinder. Cone's formula is pi r squared plus pi rl, and the cylinder's formula is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And then where they attach to each other, or where they touch, is the circle shape that is both on the cone and at the top of the cylinder. So the bottom of the cone and the top of the cylinder, I need 2 of those to go away, so 2 circles, which will be pi r squared. And we know our radius, that's 2. We know our slant height, that's 7. And radius is still 2. Height of the cylinder now is where we're at, so that's a 5. And then minus 2 pi 2 squared. Again, we can get all that typed in, just be real careful so you don't miss anything. So first up is pi times 2 squared plus pi times 2 times 7 plus 2 pi times 2 squared plus 2 pi times 2 times 5 minus 2 pi and 2 squared. Looks like 119.38 inches squared. Last one, we got 2 pyramids. And these are square pyramids, and hopefully, again, in your notes packet, I marked that all of those were 6s there. So the first pyramid, and since we've got 2 of the exact same shapes, like everything is 6 for them, we're just going to do 2 times the pyramid formula. And our pyramid formula is base times height of the bottom, and then 1/2 NSL. So we've got 2, and then base and height of the bottom, so remember that's just our rectangle on the bottom, so that's 6 by 6. And then 1/2, and we number of sides, that's 4. Side length is 6, and slant is also 6. So 2, and then parentheses, 6 times 6. Remember, change that half into a 0.5 times 4 times 6 times 6. And we get about 216 centimeters squared. All the examples I did, we actually added stuff together and we were taking out the overlap. There are sometimes pictures where we take out a shape. Maybe if this cone went inside the cylinder, we'd be taking it out. So when they're stacked on top of each other, that's an add problem. If you see one where one shape is inside of the other, that's usually a subtract.